welcome back to another live. Excited to be here. It's Thursday, and oh my gosh, is this month not racing away from us? Now, I want to ask you a question. Have you ever thought about pulling together combos or bundles or even packaging your product with other companies? If you've ever thought about it, but you've been a little bit nervous to give it a go, well, today is the day. We are going to be talking about how you can bundle your business or your services or package your product with other people to actually just add value to what you're offering. We will be talking to someone that knows all the ins and outs and will be sharing their knowledge on how to make this work. Now, before we get started, I do ask, if you are watching us live, feel free to throw in a comment, say g'day, or just tag someone else in that might be of interest. We do love what we do, but we love it even more when you interact with our lives. So please reach out and, join in. Now, before I go further, I've got to stop rabbiting on. Today, we have got a guest. So it's Rachel Leitch from Per Procura, a strategic, now I've got to double click this, strategic relationship manager or consultant that will be joining us today. Rach, before I fumble over my words anymore, welcome.
Hello. Oh my gosh, what an introduction. I don't think I can be as rapid speaking and energetic as that, but I'll do my best.
Oh, it's all about the energy, Rach. It's all about the energy. Hey, Rach, look, I'm really excited about today because what we're talking about with combos and packaging is something that I have done in a previous life with other companies, and we've seen such success, and we just look at our everyday life. We see combos and packaging everywhere. Like, hey, if you go to Macca's or KFC, there is a combo, right?
Yes, absolutely. Yep.
And now So now before we go into this too much, because I do really want to pick your brain, please tell the lovely people watching, or, if they're watching it live or on replay, what do you do?
It's always a difficult one to define. That's why I came up with a lovely title like Strategic Relationships Consultant, because I thought it's a different title to most, so that will get people going, what the hell's that? I have spent my career, which is 20 plus years, as I call it a self-styled apprenticeship, but now I've got the qualifications to anything to do with communications, public relations, and marketing. Now, there's some areas that I'm not a specialist in, but the strategic aspect and the nuts and bolts of how things work. But I wouldn't claim to be able to, create a software program for you or anything like that.
Yeah, I'm not sure if I could do that either, to be fair.
Yes. And I'd just like to explain my company name, Per Procura. It is a bit of a mouthful. It even took me a long time to be able to say it properly. So I don't mind if you call it Per Pro. And it's when you're signing on behalf of somebody else, if you've got the authority, you put that little PP next to it. That's what Per Procura is. So I work with businesses, but I work as a part of the business. That's my favorite. That's my sweet spot, working in the business. So I do a combination of coaching and mentoring people in the business. And so one of my clients at the moment, they have a salesperson, and I'm coaching and mentoring them, but I'm also working with the CEO on some strategic level business direction as well. So I sort of plug in where there might be a gap to help at that senior level. So you don't have to employ a whole nother person.
And very valuable in this current environment, isn't it? Because there's people without that high level strategic thinking within their businesses because they've just had to streamline a business to kind of survive. That's
right. And I find that sales has become more important as well when it's a little bit more difficult. I know in tourism, love the industry because it's so relationship driven. But now it's even more difficult to, scrape some business. So your sales techniques and authenticity and understanding pricing and all of this, the whole sales toolkit is even more important. So I talk people through even how to make a phone call if that's the level that they need, and there's no shame in that. How to have success in getting the call back, or once you're in the sales meeting, what's the structure to make sure that you cover everything? But that's a whole nother topic.
That is a whole nother topic. Let's dig into this one. Today is about the art of combos and bundling. So, Rach, where do we want to start?
Well, I'm a real fan of packages and combos with working with other companies. So, but I suppose the commonalities of them, the reason why you would do that is for both or any of them, bundles, combos, packages, is to drive more business. But in driving more business, you are getting more brand awareness out there if you're doing it the right way. If you are working with other companies that have a larger audience, who I use the term audience for target markets or customers or anything. It's just who you want to have eyes on your product. So if you are working with an organization that has a larger audience than you do, you're winning already, because you are getting to be named alongside them, and it is also as though they have given you a reference because they're working with you. So I know when I worked at Willowbank a long time ago, and we did a lot of work with the Antarctic Centre. Now, their visitor numbers, were vastly larger than Willowbank. They had a lot more budget, for all the reasons. But it was to our advantage to work with them because they had a larger audience. And so we had some wonderful combos.
I'm just thinking about the combos for those that every day, and we neglect. We tend to forget. We kind of glance over combos now, but I think of New World and the steak knives, the Swiss knives.
Yes,
those Swiss knives went off because that was a driver. It was a combo, but you had to you had to spend more in New World to be able to get those. So there was a strategy behind it.
Yes, well, that's I would call that a value add, but it still has that same benefit of increasing your audience, and then people vote with their feet and their wallets. So, but you can also take market share off your competitors as well, because if people are making a decision between your product or service and another product or service, if you are combined with somebody else and it's a similar, if your audience have the same characteristics, so they are your target market and they are likely to consume more than just your product, if you have already gone together with somebody else, then the competition's sitting out in the cold by themselves.
Yeah. And I think it's really important from a business point of view that, when we do think about combos, it can be for lots of different reasons. It could be, gaining that market share or getting your product under a new audience, essentially, but also to move product as well. So
absolutely, that's the bundling aspect of it. Absolutely, it's moving product, buying in bulk, I suppose. I think of I always buy my batteries if I'm at Bunnings. Yes, I do go to Bunnings. Who doesn't like Bunnings? Or my 10 Metro, I should be more New Zealand.
Perfect example of people that do, value adds, bundles, combos. They do all sorts of things there.
Yes, and so there's always those
coffee.
They've got those big bins at point of sale. You're going to check out. Of course, you've got a little bit of time to go, what else do I not need? Often they'll have like a 30 pack of batteries or something. And so AA batteries, why buy them on the groceries when they're so much more expensive and you don't get as many, and you always need them. That's in the bottom drawer. So if the remote runs out of a battery, I can just go to the drawer and get one. I don't have to make a special trip and things. So that brand loyalty that you'd usually have to the big brands, it doesn't matter anymore, because it's a consumable you're going to use all the time. And they've bundled it, and so they can make it cheaper then too.
Yeah, definitely. And it's an interesting one that you bring that up, because then this could take us off into another tangent, that whole consumer buying behavior and putting those items at the front. But we want to talk more about the combos, because I love the psychology of people's buying habits. But I am going to just talk a little bit about it in the sense of combos. So one of the things that we are seeing, especially in New Zealand, is around that value proposition. And
Yes.
making sure that they feel like they're getting value. And in some respects, there's clients that squeeze the dollar down so that essentially they want more for less. But then there is still the majority that are quite happy to look at something and go, yeah, I see the value in that, and that's worth purchasing. And that's, again, where those combos and bundles come into it as well.
Yes. So, well, it is. I mean, the reason why, sorry, I'm thinking of the structure of the whole conversation right now. I'm just going back to the reasons why. Brand awareness.
Yep.
Blocking out the competitors.
Yep.
And moving inventory, whether that's bums and seats and beds or through your turnstile for admission or whatever it is. So so you wouldn't some combos sit in the background all the time, but they are probably more effective if they have a short lifespan. And it doesn't mean that you don't repeat it every year or every 6 months or once a month or whatever you want. But if it's sitting there all the time, people become a bit blind to it.
So there's no sense of urgency.
Correct. Or no sense of value.
Yep.
Perceived value is one of the key aspects of sales, and especially sales, not sales and marketing necessarily, but how much does the customer value what you are trying to sell them?
Yep.
So it's really important to, as in any marketing and sales, is to understand who your customer is. That's the foundation across anything. You absolutely need to know them, know what turns them on, know how much moolah, how many dollars they'll put against that. I've worked with high-end accommodation and had to really go through a whole psychological process, which is not uncommon, for their pricing because it was too low. They were like, I wouldn't pay that. And I'm like, but you're not the customer. You need to, and to understand what people will pay, well, that's when you do your competitor analysis, of course. So you go and look at the competition and see how much they're charging and then go, oh my God, we're so much better than that. We should be charging that. Exactly. You're not the purchaser. Somebody else is. So it's really important to get into their mindset.
Yeah, and I find that people struggle with that quite often is that it's not about what you would pay, it's about what your customer would pay and what they feel is value versus what you believe is value.
And it's also a lot of times not connected to the actual cost. So your purchase cost or your, the room turnover cost is irrelevant to the consumer. They will pay what they think it is worth to them. And that, of course, varies depending on how much discretionary income they've got, but that's all part of the persona of who your people are. But it's just, and it can be tricky to put yourself in that other position. But
So let's move along, right? So the next area we wanted to cover off is like, when do we use a combo or a bundle?
Well, we touched on it a little bit. So I think I'd like to make the distinction between combos, packages, and bundles because they are slightly different. So combos, of course, you think of McDonald's.
I do. Yeah, I do. It's the weight of my heart is through my stomach. So if anyone's listening, I accept food as briberies.
So would you like fries with that? It's become part of common talk, really, is to say, would you like fries with that? So combos is when you have you own all of the items within your business. So if you're a hotel or a motel, it may be, you can, it's as simple as breakfast,
Yep.
bed and breakfast. That's a combo.
Yeah.
Packages are usually when you include another business or an external, so it's more than one business. Now, someone might be looking this up online and go, oh, that's not what the textbooks say. I'm talking from experience, not from academia. So that's my caveat if people go, no, that's not right. And then bundles, I would use that term as when you are selling more than one of your singular items together. So if you think of the battery pack for your bundles, the McDonald's meal for your combo,
Coffee.
and then coffee is, well, they bundle that in a way with your coffee loyalty cards because you get one free. So that's kind of, but if it was a coffee and a muffin, that would be a combo. And then, your packages is when you're working with another company. So if you're an accommodation provider, you might have a combo with an activity or an attraction, and vice versa. So there are a few. You can use all of these things all at the same time. There's no problem with that. But when you use them, I think we touched on it before. Bundles is usually to move more inventory. However, bundles also can work in accommodation and attractions. And so if you're wanting to smooth out the dips. So for example, no one ever stays a Sunday night. So, and people often stay a Saturday night, and if you bundle it and say, you can stay 2 nights, get third night free, but you must be staying on a Friday or Saturday to be able to redeem this. So that's bundling room nights. If you're in a jet boat experience, you may bundle it by saying, if you bring 3 friends, the 4th one rides for free. Or it may be if you come back, over the summer season, like a ski pass or something, then you're bundling that as well. So and then with packages, of course, that's pretty self-explanatory. You're trying to reach more customers. So those packages can run a lot longer, I believe. And combos, so packages can run longer. They can run for a whole season, or they can be something that sits in the background the whole time. And within those packages, you can then tweak them and refine them and use things like upsells and things. But you have your base package, and then you can play with that through seasonality, with the agreement of everybody that's in that package. And then with the combos, a lot of times it's a way to encourage people to try new product lines within your own business. So referring back to if you have a very simple one, that the coffee and the muffin, the chef might have decided that they're trying this new muffin mix and they want people to taste it and try it, and so it's a way to introduce it. The new muffin is the licorice honey popcorn, I don't know, that's something, and so that's the free one that you get with the coffee, and then it will either tank or grow. So it can be a way to try out new products, and also move things. So there's multiple reasons when to use it, but really it's about stimulating buyer behavior. So keeping things fresh and interesting for your buyers.
I like that. I mean, I have to admit, I am a bit of a new to arts and crafts, so I have noticed that at the warehouse, what they do is they don't put the paint on sale, but they put the canvases on sale. So you're kind of drawn to, you're going to get some new paints, but you'll get your canvases on a deal, and vice versa. They switch them around. So it's, it stimulates my buyer behavior because I know that I'm getting it for cheaper. But I'm just going to throw this one in. So when we do these things, so when we package things up and where there's a perceived discount, essentially, because there is a multiple, do you feel that it actually impacts when the price goes back to full price? Like, is it hard to go back, or do you think it's because it's comboed, it kind of puts it in its own league and it sits over there? And, say if it's two products that you're putting together and this is 100 and this is 150, but when it's together, it's only 120 to get people to buy because you're trying to move things. Do you think it?
No, I don't. I think people understand that combos that's a discount, but it's not a discount if you decide to go and have just a coffee rather than the coffee and muffin combo. You're paying less than the combo. So that's where you get into the pricing part of it, which is another critical foundation aspect to any sales, is to get your pricing right from the start. So if you were, your combo, of course, needs to be cheaper than if you were buying the two items singularly. It's hard to say, but people understand that if you buy them single items. So no, I don't think it is difficult to do that, but it is, you don't make the cost to you don't make that transparent to the consumer.
Yep. I think it's important that we talk about price because it's really important that people understand their pricing for be a service or a product, and ensure that if they are putting it in a combo, they don't chew up too much of their margin, because we've seen it before where people are trying to move things and they're not actually making any money, and it's quite easy for people to make that mistake because they just don't understand the numbers.
That's right, and it's something that's worth spending the time on as well. I think when I've worked with a lot of new businesses, so I've been fortunate to, or businesses that have repositioned, so they've gone from a lesser product to a more high-end product through refurbishment or enhancement or something. So I've been very fortunate to get in at a stage where you can make the difference. And when initially pricing, it can be a sensitive one. Once again, thinking for yourself, thinking, oh, I wouldn't spend that, or what a rip-off, we can't mark it up that much, it only costs us this. That's unethical if we're, charging other people that much. But it's, once again, if you can put yourself in the position of the person purchasing it, they don't know these things.
Exactly. And I think you fall into this trap, and I quite often find myself thinking about this, is that in my area of speciality, I know what something's worth. So therefore I will look at people sometimes and go, have you got no idea? But then I also know that if I go into another area that is not my expertise, I'm the dumb person now.
That's right.
So, we tend to forget that the consumer is not us. They're someone that knows very little bit about what we do, but they're looking that they can be attracted to something because of the way it's presented and packaged or comboed together.
That's right. And one of the things I might bang on about when I've had a couple of drinks and might be at a conference or something, is that people should buy. It hasn't happened for a very long time. That people should be buying on value, not on price. Now, it sounds like semantics. Well, actually, we should be selling on perceived value, not selling on price. And it does really annoy me when people will sell just on price rather than the perceived value of the product.
Yes.
And it's too easy, and I understand it. It can be a flow down effect, pressure from owners, then pressure onto general managers, and then pressure onto the salespeople. Just get a sale, and it's
I think what you do, and I think what you do when you do that is you attract you generally attract the wrong client.
That's right, because they don't have any value in what you're selling.
Exactly. And I know in my time in sales, the easiest way for a salesperson to drive product is when it's reduced, because you can go out with a lot of noise, and it makes it easy for us as salespeople to sell. But it actually comes with consequences, because you've lost the perceived value of the product, because now you're talking to a slightly different audience.
That's right.
Or the people that do normally buy a product may look at it differently as well.
And that's when it's really difficult to get the price back up again. It's really easy to drop your pants, as we like to say. It's really difficult to pull them back up again.
Sometimes I
won't continue with that analogy, but
I just think sometimes pants are dropped and the belt has been tightened. Now, Rach, let's move on to the third point, because we're humming along. So we've kind of talked about the pricing. We've talked about why we do this, but how you use the combos. So can you just kind of give us some examples?
Well, I didn't know this question was going to be in there, because I was going to wave my hands around about pricing a little bit more. But I suppose that
about pricing as well. But let's talk. Well, pricing is actually, how you can use the combos is really with pricing.
Right.
It's driven. Price driven.
Thank you very much. Well, going back to
nothing to see here.
Well, going back to how you use combos. I'm confused about the question.
Right, so that's okay. So how we use a combo. So why would we use them, and how we use them? So you would use them in different scenarios. So for example, some people strategically use combos, so they may only use it to their mailing list. Some people may only allow a combo to be activated once a certain threshold has been reached. So let's think about, if you spend $100, you get free delivery. So different things of how we use it, but I guess more so from a business, how are we using them? What are we using them for? So we talked a little bit before about distressed inventory.
That's right.
Yeah, and we talked a little bit about, we're strategically using it to get in front of a new audience. We want to spread our awareness of our product, but we also want to be able to crawl back some market share as well.
There you go. Well done. Thanks, Tracy.
I was listening. I actually feel like this question has been actually answered throughout the other 2 points. So that's why it got a little bit confusing when we put it at the end. But that's okay, because one thing is we're live when we do these things. So there's no inherent error. So we just have to keep rolling with the punches. So it's really cool. But look, let's just talk a little bit about combos anyway. So from my personal experience working in the travel industry, they work really, really well. So whether it be a combo, a package, or a bundle, they are a great way of just informing people of multiple products within your business. But even as a business owner, you feel like you're creating a sense of value, and you actually want to talk about it a little bit more because you've got this great deal, and it gives you a little bit of energy as well. So if you're thinking strategically, but we can't not ignore price, Rach. Like price is critical here, is that if we don't price it right, we can actually lose big time.
That's right. And so spreadsheets are our friends. And there's ways of spreading the costs. I think of that buy three, get fourth one free.
Yeah.
But you actually spread your cost across the 4 and then do your maths from that. So you actually finding out how much it costs you for those 4 nights, items, whatever it is, coffees, and then your pricing can absorb that one that is going. So you will have to put a different button on your till or something that it's a combo, because the pricing is different. And that's what I was alluding to, and probably went off on my own tangent about when you start a business or your repositioning is to make sure you have enough meat in your pricing to be able to take dips in your margin, because it won't be the same all the time. And human behavior is that if something's different, it will draw your eye to it, especially with the online platforms and such like. With the pricing, you need to have enough meat in it. And working in accommodation for a long time, there was always a battle with rooms division and food and beverage about where the prices would be split. So it really helps if you're a salesperson to be on really good terms with your food and beverage manager and or the chef, depending on who has the power in there, and because you want more money to close your rooms. That's just but that's how detailed it would get split out, and the costing of combos and such like, is that you should be looking at the cents, not just the dollars. You should be looking at the cents as well, and look at it as percentages. So percentage of sales rather than absolutes. So there's a whole raft of things we can go into with pricing, but.
Now, Rach, we are coming to an end. We've covered lots of things. We've had lots of giggles as well. So if someone hasn't ever considered a combo or a bundle or packaging, what advice would you give them when they're looking at their own business?
Oh, absolutely do it. Yeah, absolutely. It's one question I'll always ask. Are you working with other businesses? Have you got any inventory that you need to move? What are your stuck periods? When are your seasonality, of course, the summer, winter, but then there's other parts in there. Some holiday times are worse for some businesses than others. And so where are the holes that you need to stimulate to get people in there? So you should be using them throughout your year, all the time.
Yeah, and it's
not constantly, but yes, definitely
a good marketing strategy for people to consider, or sales and marketing strategy, because one, having it there is a good way to talk about your product, because sometimes we forget to talk about our own product, and the other is from a conversion, the sales strategy. It's also really good from a sales strategy too.
Just one more thing on packages with other businesses. I always think, who else can sell my product for me? There's only one salesperson in our particular business, but if we're packaged with someone else, then there's those salespeople and so on and so on. So
that is a very good point. Yes. So how can you make other people work for you for nothing? And that will be our next topic. No, I'm joking. Hey, Rach, thank you very much for your time. I've really enjoyed this really candid chat about combos and packages. And I know that for a lot of people, this type of marketing and strategy is not necessary for them, but we're hoping by just scratching the surface a little bit that people might feel comfortable to actually give it a go. There's no harm in trying. You don't lose any money for putting the awareness out there. What you do gain is if it converts, you've got a sale.
Yeah, and look, try something small first. You don't need to go out, a hiss and a bang. You can do something little.
Yeah, definitely. Hey, Rach, thank you so much. Now, if anyone is looking for Rach, you can find her on LinkedIn.
Yes.
Yep. Yeah. And you've got a Facebook page for Per Procura there as well.
Yeah, it's not very active. And I do have a website as well, which needs updating.
We will drop the website link at the end of this. But for anyone that's watching, if you do like what we do, please like, share, hey, even comment. Don't be afraid. And we will make sure that we get back to you. But if there is any topics that you would like us to talk about, please send us a DM and we'll be happy to cover it in our future lives. Now, it's a Thursday. We'll see you next Thursday. If you are interested in keeping up to date with what we are doing, I will drop the newsletter subscribe link in our comments for you to follow up later. But Rach, thank you so much for your time. If anyone wants to reach out to Rach or for me about combos, please do. So until next time, guys, stay safe. I'll see you later.
Bye.
Bye.